I had always imagined that Sarah's family would be my family too. After all, we had been married for 3 years, and everything had seemed perfect up until that point. I knew Sarah's family was close-knit, but I never imagined that would mean I would sometimes be left on the outside. The issue hadn't been obvious until that one phone call, which I've never really been able to forget. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon when my phone buzzed with an incoming call. I saw Sarah's name flash on the screen, and for a moment I couldn't help but smile. We had been planning for the upcoming wedding of her sister, Natalie, for weeks. I had taken the time off work, bought a new suit, and even helped her pick out a gift for the couple. Everything seemed set for the big day. But when I picked up the phone, the first thing I noticed was the nervousness in Sarah's voice. That wasn't like her at all. She was usually calm, composed, someone who could handle anything that came her way. So when I heard the hesitation, it made my heart drop. "Hey, honey," she began, and I could hear a slight crack in her voice. "I just got off the phone with my mom, and there's been a mix-up with the wedding guest list." "A mix-up?" I echoed, my eyebrows furrowing. "What do you mean?" "I'm really sorry, but it looks like your name isn't on the list." I froze, trying to process what I was hearing. "What do you mean my name isn't on the list?" I asked, my voice rising without meaning to. "We've been planning this for months, and I've been looking forward to it. How could they forget me?" "I don't know, it's just a mistake, I'm sure. I'll call them and get it sorted out," Sarah said quickly. "Please don't worry about it. I'll make sure you're on the list. You're still coming, okay?" I wanted to believe her. I really did, but something felt off. It didn't make sense. Why would my name be left off? And why had I never heard of any guest list issues before? As I sat there on the couch, staring at the invitation on the table, the one that had clearly addressed both of our names, I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was going on. It was like the beginning of a story where I was the last one to find out what was really happening. But I told myself it was nothing. It was just a mistake. We had no time to dwell on things like this. The wedding was only days away. I trusted Sarah, and I had to believe it would be fixed. We had been through so much together, and I wasn't going to let something as trivial as a guest list mix-up ruin our plans. The next day, I went about my business as usual, though I kept checking my phone, waiting for Sarah's call. But the call never came. That evening, just as I was about to leave for work, I saw Sarah's name on the screen again. Her voice sounded strange, softer than usual. "Hey, babe," she said. "I called my mom and they're going to let you in. Everything's sorted. I'm sorry about all this. You know how my family can be." It wasn't quite the apology I had expected, but I wasn't about to press the issue. Sarah was right. Her family had always been a little complicated, especially when it came to weddings. Her mother had a way of getting things done her own way, and Sarah was constantly trying to manage both sides, her family and mine, without letting it show. I could tell she was trying to reassure me, but a little voice in the back of my head told me not everything was as it seemed. I let it go. I had too many other things to worry about. The wedding was coming up, and I had my own responsibilities. The whole situation felt off, but I told myself not to overthink it. I wasn't going to be the person who ruined a celebration over something so trivial. When the wedding day finally arrived, I was both excited and anxious. It was a beautiful morning, warm enough for a late spring wedding, the kind of day you dream about for months. I had planned everything carefully. I picked up a few last-minute gifts, helped with some of the flowers, and made sure everything was in place for Sarah. But still, as the time ticked closer to the wedding, I couldn't help but feel like something was missing. I finished up early, dressed in the suit I had been so excited about. I looked at myself in the mirror, trying to push down the anxiety that gnawed at me. It wasn't just the guest list issue anymore. It was the feeling that something about today wasn't going to go as planned. I tried to ignore it, though. I loved Sarah and I loved her family. What could possibly go wrong? I arrived at the venue ahead of schedule, eager to get inside and enjoy the day. The venue was stunning, a grand hall with high ceilings and sparkling chandeliers. The kind of place that made you feel like you were stepping into a fairy tale. I could hear the faint strains of a string quartet playing in the distance as I walked through the front doors. Everything looked perfect, just like it should be. But as I made my way toward the entrance, something stopped me. A tall, burly security guard stood just inside the door, his eyes scanning the crowd. He turned his gaze to me as I approached and raised an eyebrow. I thought nothing of it at first. After all, there were many people arriving, and I was just another guest. But when I reached the door, his hand shot out, blocking me. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone neutral but firm. "Yeah, I'm here for the wedding," I replied, trying to keep my voice light. "I'm on the guest list. I'm Sarah's husband." He didn't immediately respond. Instead, he looked down at the clipboard in his hands, flipping through the pages as if searching for my name. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, watching him closely. He flipped the pages again, his brow furrowing slightly. "I'm sorry, sir," he said finally, looking up at me with a frown. "Your name's not on the list." My heart dropped into my stomach. "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling my chest tighten. "There must be a mistake. I've been invited. I'm Sarah's husband." The guard glanced back down at the clipboard, his expression impassive. "I'm sorry, sir. Your name's not here. You can't enter." For a moment I stood there, frozen in disbelief. This couldn't be happening. My mind raced as I tried to process what was happening. Why was my name not on the list? I had been invited, hadn't I? This wasn't just some random party. It was my wife's sister's wedding. I had to be on the list. "Look," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "can you check again? I've been planning this for weeks. My wife's expecting me. You can't just turn me away." But the guard was unmoved. "I'm sorry, sir. Without your name on the list, I can't let you in." The confusion hit me like a wave. I stood there, staring at the security guard, a feeling of disbelief creeping in. This couldn't be happening. There had to be some mistake. I had been looking forward to this wedding for so long, and now, just like that, I was being told I couldn't enter. The knot in my stomach tightened, and I tried to force my thoughts into some kind of coherent order, but nothing made sense. "I'm Sarah's husband," I repeated, my voice slightly trembling despite my best efforts to remain calm. "Please check again." "This isn't right." The guard, who had been staring at me with indifference, didn't flinch. "I've checked the list already, sir. Your name's not here." "I'm sorry, but I can't let you in." I stood frozen for a moment, unable to process what was happening. My wife, Sarah, had been looking forward to this day just as much as I had. She had even told me how special this wedding would be, and now I was being denied entry. The absurdity of it all made my head spin. "Can I speak to someone in charge?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maybe there's been some kind of misunderstanding." "I need to get inside. I'm her husband." The guard's eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't move. Instead, he tapped something into his radio, speaking into it briefly. He was so cold, so detached, like I wasn't even a person to him, just a nuisance. I stood there helpless as the minutes ticked by, the sound of chatter and laughter from inside the venue making my stomach churn. The longer I stood there, the more my unease grew. I was on the outside, stuck between the familiar world I thought I belonged to and this strange, impenetrable barrier that had suddenly sprung up between me and everyone else. After what felt like an eternity, the security guard stepped aside, nodding curtly. "Wait here. I'll see if someone can come down." He didn't offer any words of reassurance, just a simple gesture. As he walked away, I stood there, alone, surrounded by the grand venue. The wedding was supposed to be a celebration of love, unity, and family. Yet here I was, standing on the outside, unable to even get inside the building. The minutes dragged on, each one stretching into what felt like an hour. I pulled out my phone and dialed Sarah's number again. My hands shook as I held the phone to my ear, but there was no answer. I tried again, then a third time, but it went straight to voicemail. It felt like a cruel joke. Why wasn't she picking up? She knew I was coming, right? She knew I was supposed to be there. My mind raced with all the possible explanations. Maybe something had happened to her. Maybe she was upset with me for some reason and didn't want me there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was something far worse, something far deeper than I could have imagined. The last time I had spoken to her was earlier that morning. She had been her usual calm self, full of excitement for the day ahead. "I can't wait for you to see everything," she had said, her voice full of joy. "This is going to be a perfect day, I promise." So why hadn't she mentioned anything about this? Why hadn't she warned me? Was I really being excluded, or was something else going on? I couldn't wait any longer. I started pacing, trying to shake off the suffocating feeling that was settling in my chest. I was on the verge of panic, my mind spinning with confusion. This wasn't how things were supposed to be. This was my wife's sister's wedding. I should have been inside already, standing by her side, enjoying the ceremony. Instead, I was standing outside like a fool, unable to even speak to anyone who could help me. The crowd of guests inside seemed to grow larger, their laughter and conversation carrying through the heavy wooden doors. I caught glimpses of people in their finest attire, heading inside to celebrate, while I stood here, blocked from the event by some faceless security guard. The contrast between their happiness and my isolation felt sharp, a painful reminder that I didn't belong in the way I had thought I did. And then, just as I was beginning to lose hope, I saw someone walking toward me, a woman tall with dark hair and a professional air about her. She wore a headset, and I could tell from the way she moved that she was important. My heart skipped a beat as she approached the door, clearly on her way to solve whatever issue had been keeping me from entering. I stepped forward, my voice thick with frustration. "Excuse me," I said, trying to sound calm. "I'm supposed to be at the wedding. My name was left off the list and no one will let me in. I've tried calling my wife, but she's not answering. Can you help me?" The woman paused, looking me over for a moment before glancing down at the clipboard in her hands. She didn't seem particularly friendly, but she did appear to take my request seriously. "I'm the event coordinator," she said curtly. "Let me see your invitation." I handed it to her, my fingers trembling. The anticipation was killing me. She took it and glanced at the name printed clearly on the paper. "I see. You're not listed," she said, handing it back to me without any expression. I couldn't help but feel the anger rising in my chest. "I don't understand," I said, trying to control the heat in my voice. "I was invited. Sarah is my wife. I'm supposed to be here." The coordinator's face remained neutral, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "I don't know what to tell you, sir. We've had issues with the guest list. If your name is not on here, I'm afraid you'll have to leave." This was getting out of hand, but I've been planning for this for months, I protested. "Sarah wouldn't do this to me. Please, you have to understand." I could see the conflict in her eyes for just a moment, but then she turned away, pulling her phone from her pocket. "I'll have someone else take care of this," she said without looking at me, already typing a message into her phone. I stood there, dumbfounded, as she walked off without offering any explanation. The frustration boiled over in me, but I had no choice but to wait again. I tried calling Sarah one more time, my heart in my throat, but the phone went straight to voicemail. I was starting to feel the weight of everything, this feeling of being alone, of being shut out. My chest tightened, and I began to question everything I thought I knew. Had something changed with Sarah and her family? Had I missed something? Were they trying to tell me something without actually saying it? And so I stood there, waiting in the silence, not knowing what would come next. But deep down, I had a feeling that things would never be the same again. The silence outside the wedding venue was unbearable. Every now and then, I could hear the faint sound of music and laughter seeping through the walls of the grand hall, which only made the situation more surreal. It was like I was on the outside looking in, like I wasn't even a part of the life I had been living for the past 3 years. It was a strange feeling, and it gnawed at my insides. I leaned against the cold stone wall of the building, trying to collect myself. My thoughts were racing. This couldn't be happening. There had to be some mistake. Maybe the event coordinator was busy. Maybe Sarah had just forgotten to call me back. After all, things had been hectic for her lately. But deep down, I knew that what I was feeling wasn't just about a wedding. This was about something far deeper. A wedge had been driven between me and the people I cared about, and I wasn't sure how to pull it out. As I stood there staring at the ground, I tried calling Sarah again. My phone buzzed with her name flashing on the screen, and for a moment I thought, finally. But when I answered, the tone in her voice immediately told me something wasn't right. "Hey babe," she said, her voice distant. "I'm sorry, it's just that things are a little crazy right now." "Crazy?" I repeated, trying to stay calm. "What do you mean crazy? I'm standing outside and no one will let me in. They've left my name off the guest list, Sarah. What the hell is going on? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear Sarah's breathing, shallow and tense, before she finally spoke again. I know, she said quietly. I know, I'm so sorry. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean you know? You knew this was happening. Why didn't you tell me, Sarah? I didn't know how, she said softly. I didn't want to upset you. I didn't want to make things worse, but they've made it clear that you're not welcome here. I felt like I had been slapped in the face. I could feel my pulse quickening, my blood boiling beneath my skin. What the hell are you talking about? I asked, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and hurt. Sarah, we've been married for 3 years. Your family has always been welcoming. Now you're telling me that I'm not welcome at your sister's wedding. Why didn't you say something before? I didn't know how to say it, she whispered. They've made it clear, Jake. My family, my mom, has always had this idea about you, about us. They never really accepted you. And now, with everything going on, they're making sure you don't have a place here. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't want to lose them either. It's complicated. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, and I felt like I was suffocating. The words she was saying were hitting me in ways I couldn't process. Your family doesn't accept me. They've never accepted me. All this time, I had been trying to blend into her world, trying to make a life with her. And now, suddenly, I was the one being pushed out. I stood frozen in the parking lot, my eyes scanning the walls of the venue, the distance between me and the wedding feeling like an insurmountable chasm. You've been hiding this from me, Sarah, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. For how long? How long have I been an outsider to your family? I didn't want you to feel like that, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't want you to feel rejected. I thought I could keep it together, but it's too much. I'm sorry, Jake. I never meant for you to find out like this. Her words were like a punch to the gut. I felt dizzy, and for a moment I thought I might collapse. I don't know what to say. You've been lying to me this whole time, Sarah. Lying. I wasn't lying, she said, her voice breaking. I was protecting you, but now it's all coming out, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose you, Jake. I really don't, but I don't know how to fix this. There was silence between us for what felt like an eternity. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. I had tried so hard to be a part of her world. I had tried to be understanding, to make things work with her family. But now, everything felt like a lie. You should have told me, Sarah, I said quietly, my voice a mix of sadness and anger. You should have told me the truth. Instead, I'm standing here outside, being humiliated, while everyone else gets to be inside with you. I'm sorry, she repeated, but it sounded hollow now. There was nothing she could say that would make this better, not now. I don't know what to do anymore, I said, my voice cracking. I don't even know who you are right now. This is not the woman I married. She didn't respond. All I could hear was the distant sound of muffled voices and wedding music. The disconnect between us seemed impossibly wide. I don't know if I can do this, I said, more to myself than to her. I don't know if I can be a part of this family anymore, Sarah. I can't keep fighting for a place where I'm not wanted. I just can't. I never wanted this, she said, her voice so small now, but I understand if you can't forgive me. The finality of her words hit me hard, like a wave crashing against the shore. I felt my anger shift to something else, something deeper, more painful. A sense of betrayal that I couldn't quite articulate. I had given so much to this marriage, to this life, and now it felt like everything was slipping away. I'll be here when you're ready to talk, she said quietly, but I could hear the hesitation in her voice. The uncertainty, the distance. I don't know what that means anymore, I muttered, and before I could stop myself, I hung up the phone. I stood there in the parking lot, gripping the phone in my hand, as if it were the only thing holding me together. My mind was racing and I couldn't catch my breath. What had I just heard? What had just happened? The wedding, the people inside, my wife, everything felt so far out of reach. I had been excluded, cut out, left to stand on the outside of a life I thought I was a part of. My thoughts were broken by the sound of footsteps approaching. I turned, and the event coordinator from earlier was walking back toward me, this time with a different expression on her face. There was no longer any indifference. Instead, she looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and something else I couldn't quite place. We've tried to contact your wife, she said, her voice softer now. She's not responding to our calls either. I've been asked to escort you off the premises. It's company policy. Escort me off, I repeated, my voice filled with disbelief. Is this how it's going to be? You're all just going to pretend that none of this is happening. I'm sorry, sir, she said, her voice apologetic but firm, but I have my orders. I stared at her, not knowing what to say. The hurt, the betrayal, it all swirled inside me, but I couldn't find the words. This wasn't how I imagined this day going. It wasn't how I imagined my life with Sarah. None of it made sense. I walked away from the venue, feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The world felt strange, distant. I didn't know where I was going, or even if I wanted to go anywhere at all. My mind was spinning, replaying everything Sarah had said to me. My wife. The woman I had trusted with everything, the one person I thought would never betray me, had just told me she had been hiding something from me all along. And it wasn't just any secret. It was a secret that tore at the very fabric of everything we had built together. As I walked through the empty parking lot, my feet moved on their own, the steps automatic, like I was going through the motions of someone else's life. The sky was overcast, the clouds hanging low, mirroring the heaviness I felt in my chest. Every footstep seemed louder than the last, the silence of the world around me growing more and more suffocating. I didn't know how long I had been walking. The wedding was still going on behind me, but I didn't care. The thought of sitting in that hall, watching the people who had been part of Sarah's life, the people who had never accepted me, made my stomach churn. And now, to top it all off, I was forced to face the truth. I was an outsider. I had never truly belonged, no matter how much I had tried. The thought of going back, of pretending everything was fine, made my skin crawl. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I knew immediately it was Sarah. I didn't want to answer it. I didn't know what she could possibly say to make this better. What could she say that could undo the damage? But I pulled the phone out anyway, my finger hovering over the screen for a moment before I swiped to answer. Jake, please, Sarah's voice came through, shaky and desperate. Can we talk? I need to explain everything, please. I'm sorry, I didn't know how to tell you. I felt my jaw tighten. I was angry. So angry, but more than that, I was heartbroken. I didn't know how to feel anymore. Everything felt so empty, so hollow. You didn't know how to tell me? I asked, my voice cold, the words tasting like acid in my mouth. Sarah, you've been hiding this from me for God knows how long. You've kept me in the dark about your family, about everything. And now you expect me to just, what? Forgive you. I never wanted to hurt you, Jake. You have to believe that, she said, her voice pleading. I thought if I kept everything together, if I kept it all smooth for us, it would be okay. But now it's all falling apart. I didn't want you to feel like this. Her words felt like empty promises, words she thought would fix everything but couldn't. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to contain the frustration that was bubbling over inside me. Well, it's too late for that, I said bitterly. You've already let it all fall apart, Sarah. I'm not some fool you can just keep in the dark. You've made your choices and I've made mine. This is who you really are. This is your family. And I'm the one who's been lied to, the one who's been kept out. I didn't want to keep you out, she insisted, her voice breaking. But you don't understand how difficult this is for me. My family, they don't like you. I never knew how to make them see you the way I do. I've been torn between you and them, and I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep the peace, but I can't anymore. I don't know what to do, Jake. The finality in her words hit me like a ton of bricks. There it was, she didn't know what to do, she had never known. All this time, I had been a pawn in her game of trying to please everyone. And in the end, it was clear that I wasn't the one who mattered. So what now? What's left for us? I asked, my voice quieter, calmer now, but with a deep sense of betrayal underlying every word. You've let me down, Sarah. You've chosen your family over me, over us. And now you want me to just sit here and act like nothing has happened. I'm sorry, she whispered again, but this time I could hear the guilt in her voice, the weight of the situation finally hitting her. I never meant for things to get this far. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. Honest, I echoed, almost laughing bitterly. How many times do I have to hear that word? It doesn't change anything, Sarah. The damage is done. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. the tears I had been holding back for so long. But I refused to cry, not in front of her, not when I felt like this. Not when everything I had built with her was crumbling in front of me. "I love you, Jake," she said, and the desperation in her voice made my heart ache. "I know it's hard to believe right now, but I do. I don't know how to fix this." "I don't know if I can believe you anymore," I replied, my voice shaking. "You've broken my trust, Sarah. I don't know how to get it back." "I'm sorry," she said again, and this time I could hear the sincerity in her words, but it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Please, just come back. I need you here, please." I closed my eyes, letting her words wash over me, but they didn't provide comfort. Instead, they felt like a hollow promise, a promise that couldn't be kept. She had broken me, and now she was asking me to fix everything. She was asking me to forgive her, to let go of the hurt, but I wasn't sure I could. "I can't do this right now," I said, my voice breaking. "I need space. I need time to think. I can't just jump back in and pretend like everything's fine. You've taken that away from me, Sarah. You've taken away everything." "I understand," she whispered, and I could hear the tears in her voice. "I just hope that one day you'll be able to forgive me." I hung up the phone without saying anything else. My hands were shaking, and I had to force myself to breathe deeply. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. The anger was still there, but it was slowly being replaced by something else, something darker. The feeling of betrayal, the feeling of being trapped in a life that wasn't mine anymore. I stood there for a while, staring at the phone in my hand, not knowing what to do next. It felt like everything I had believed in was slipping through my fingers, leaving me with nothing. I had thought we were building something together, but now I wasn't sure what we had left. The sound of the wedding still echoed in my ears. The laughter, the music, the joy, but none of that reached me anymore. I was standing outside of it all, a forgotten guest in a life I thought was mine. I didn't know what the future held, or if Sarah and I could ever come back from this. But I knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened next, I would have to find my way forward, alone. The days after the call from Sarah felt like a blur. The hurt and confusion lingered in my mind, swirling around like a storm I couldn't escape. I had to make sense of everything that had happened, the words Sarah had said, the lies she had kept hidden, and the ultimate realization that I had never truly been a part of her world. I had tried so hard to fit in, to understand her family, but all I was ever to them was an outsider. And now I had to face the fact that the woman I had married, the woman I had trusted with everything, had chosen them over me. I couldn't sit idly by and let things fester. The anger in me was growing, and I knew I had to confront her. There was no more running from the truth. No more hiding behind excuses. I needed to understand what had led to this point, and more importantly, I needed to hear her explain it to me face to face. If there was a chance for us to rebuild what we had, it had to start with honesty. Real honesty, not the kind of vague, half-hearted apologies she had given me before. I called Sarah that morning, the phone ringing through to voicemail. Again, I left a message, my voice strained but controlled. "Sarah, I need to see you. I can't do this over the phone. We need to talk. I'm coming over." There was no reply, but I didn't expect one. Not yet. She knew the gravity of what I was asking, and I had no idea how she would respond. But I couldn't sit around waiting for things to magically resolve, so I made my decision. I was going to her apartment. We were going to talk, and we were going to face the truth of what had been happening between us. No more avoiding it, no more pretending. The drive there felt like an eternity. The weight of the situation hung heavily over me, pressing down on my chest with each passing mile. I had driven this route countless times before, but today it felt different. The familiar streets were foreign now. Every corner, every stoplight reminded me that things were no longer what they seemed. I wasn't just heading to her place. I was heading into the unknown, into a confrontation that had the potential to break everything apart. When I finally arrived, I sat in the car for a moment, taking in the stillness of the parking lot. The world around me seemed muted, as if the air itself was holding its breath. My hand gripped the steering wheel, and I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to gather the strength to face her. I had to do this, for both of us. I got out of the car and walked up to the front door. I didn't knock at first. I just stood there, staring at the wood and the polished brass handle. It was surreal. A year ago, this door had opened for me to welcome me into her life, into our life. Now it felt like a barrier, one I had to break through to get to the truth. I knocked 3 times, then waited. Moments passed before the door opened. There she was, standing in front of me. Sarah. Her hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, and she was wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. Her face looked tired, the exhaustion showing in the lines under her eyes. But it wasn't just physical fatigue. It was the emotional toll that was written all over her. She had been carrying something for a long time, and now I was standing here, forcing her to face it. "Jake," she said softly, her voice trembling, I wasn't expecting you." "I'm not here to surprise you," I said, my voice flat, though I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I'm here because we need to talk, face to face. No more hiding behind phone calls or texts. I need answers, Sarah, and you need to explain yourself." Her eyes welled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "I didn't know how to face you. I didn't know what to say. I never meant for things to get this out of hand." "You never meant for things to get this way?" I repeated, the anger slipping through in my voice. "Sarah, you've been lying to me. Lying to me for months. You've kept me in the dark about your family, about how they really feel about me. And now you're telling me you didn't mean for it to get this far." "I didn't want it to happen this way," she said, shaking her head. "I was just trying to keep the peace. I thought if I kept quiet about it, we could move forward. But it was a mistake, a huge mistake." I stepped past her into the apartment, the tension in my chest growing heavier with each step. I didn't wait for her to invite me in. She knew why I was here, and there was no point in pretending we were just going to have a casual conversation. "Sit down, please," she said softly, motioning to the couch. I didn't want to sit, I didn't want to be calm. But I did. I sat down, my arms crossed tightly in front of me as I tried to contain the storm inside me. Sarah sat down next to me, but there was a distance between us now, an unspoken barrier that had grown too large to ignore. She looked at me, her hands trembling in her lap, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said quietly. I thought I could make everything work. I thought if I just kept the peace between us and my family, it would all be okay. But it was, and now I've lost you." "You didn't lose me because of your family, Sarah," I replied, my voice tight. "You lost me because you kept me in the dark. You kept me out of the most important parts of your life. And I let you keep me on the outside because I thought I could make things work. But you lied to me. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth." "I was scared," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was scared of losing my family. I didn't know what to do, Jake. You don't understand. My family has always been everything to me. They're the reason I am who I am. And when they made it clear that they didn't accept you, I didn't know how to choose between the two of you." The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. "So you chose them. You chose your family over me," I said quietly. "You chose their approval over our relationship." "I didn't want to," she said, tears streaming down her face now. "But I felt like I had to. I thought I could fix it. I thought I could make it work. I didn't want to lose everything." "You already have," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You already lost me, Sarah, and I don't know if I can come back from this. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right," she pleaded, her eyes wide with desperation. "Please, I love you, Jake. I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't know how to fix everything. I was trying to make everyone happy, but now I realize that I can't keep doing that. I need you. I need us." I sat there in silence, staring at her, the weight of her words hanging in the air. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but I wasn't sure it was enough. The damage had been done, and I wasn't sure I could forgive her for it. "I don't know if I can fix this," I said, my voice filled with uncertainty. "I don't know if I can keep living in this lie." "I understand," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But please, Jake, just don't give up on us, please." I stood up, turning away from her, my heart heavy. I didn't have an answer for her, not yet. I needed time. I needed space to think, to process everything. But I knew one thing for sure, this was a turning point. Everything had changed. And I didn't know if we could come back from it. "I can't stay here right now," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I need to go. I'll figure out what to do. but right now I need to be alone. I walked out of the apartment without looking back, the door clicking shut behind me. The world outside was just as I had left it, silent, distant, and cold. But this time I wasn't sure where I was going. I didn't know what the future held or if there was even a future for Sarah and me. But one thing was certain, the world as I knew it was forever changed. The days following my confrontation with Sarah felt like a blur. I couldn't focus on anything, couldn't concentrate on work, couldn't bring myself to do anything that didn't remind me of the conversation we had that night. I was living in a fog, moving through the motions of life, but not really living. Everything had changed in the span of a few hours, and I had no idea what to do next. I didn't go back to Sarah's apartment. I didn't even call her. I knew she was waiting for me to make the next move, but I couldn't bring myself to face her just yet. The betrayal I felt was too fresh, too raw. She had lied to me, kept me in the dark about the one thing that truly mattered. And now, as much as I loved her, I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. I spent the next few days avoiding everyone. I didn't reach out to my friends, didn't return anyone's calls. I was completely alone, and in some strange way, I welcomed it. Being surrounded by people would only make the pain worse. I needed space. I needed time to figure out what I wanted, what I needed, and if there was even a way to salvage what was left of my marriage. Sarah called me every day, and every day I let the call go to voicemail. I couldn't bring myself to answer. I wasn't ready to hear what she had to say, not yet. There was too much between us now, too many lies, too much distance. How could I ever go back to the way things were before? How could I trust her again when she had chosen her family over me, when she had lied about something so important? But one night, as I sat in my apartment, the phone rang again. It was Sarah. This time, I didn't let it go to voicemail. I knew that if I didn't talk to her now, I would never have the courage to face her again. I answered the phone, my voice low, almost distant. "Sarah." "Jake," she said, her voice trembling, "please, I need to talk to you. I've been waiting for you to call me back, but I understand if you're still angry. I don't know what to do anymore." I could hear the desperation in her voice, and it broke something inside me. I had been so angry, so hurt, that I hadn't stopped to think about her side of things. But that didn't change what had happened. That didn't change the fact that she had lied to me. "What do you want to talk about, Sarah?" I asked, my voice tinged with exhaustion. "We've talked enough. I don't think there's anything left to say." "No, Jake," she said urgently. "There is. There's so much more I need to explain. I don't want to lose you. Please, just listen to me." I closed my eyes, leaning back against the couch. I wanted to say something, anything, to make it all go away. But the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I needed anymore. The life I thought I had built with Sarah felt like it had been shattered beyond repair. "I'm listening," I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. Sarah took a deep breath, and I could hear the sob in her throat. "I've been so stupid," she began, her voice breaking. "I thought I could keep everyone happy. I thought if I just kept pretending, if I just kept everything smooth between you and my family, we could be happy. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. I should have trusted you. I should have been honest with you from the beginning." "You should have," I replied quietly. "You should have trusted me enough to tell me the truth, but you didn't. You kept me in the dark, Sarah. You kept me out of everything." "I didn't mean to," she said, her voice soft with regret. "I thought that if I just kept everything peaceful, everything would be fine. I didn't know how to tell you that my family didn't like you. That they didn't want you there. It wasn't because of anything you did. It was because of me. They've always seen me as the one who has to keep the peace. And I thought I could do it all. I thought I could make everyone happy." I closed my eyes, feeling a mix of emotions rising within me. "But you didn't make anyone happy, did you? You kept lying to me, Sarah. You kept hiding the truth, and in the end, no one was happy. Not me, not you, and definitely not us." "I know," she whispered. "And I'm sorry. I was selfish. I should have put you first. I should have told you the truth no matter what. But I was scared, Jake. I was scared that if I told you the truth, I would lose you. And if I lost you, I would have lost everything." "I don't know what to say, Sarah," I replied, my voice tinged with pain. "You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to be okay. You don't get to keep lying to me and expect me to just forgive you. It doesn't work like that. I know, she said, her voice breaking again. I don't expect you to forgive me just like that, I don't. But I need you to understand how sorry I am. I need you to know that I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned what's important, and I know now that I should have never put my family above you. There was a long silence between us, and I could feel the tension in the air. I wasn't sure what to do. I wasn't sure what I wanted. The pain from everything that had happened was still too fresh, too sharp. But a part of me wanted to believe her. A part of me wanted to believe that she could change, that we could fix this. But the other part of me, the part that had been hurt, the part that had been lied to, was too scared to trust again. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, I said softly, the words coming out with a weight I hadn't expected. You've broken me, Sarah. You've shattered everything I believed in. And I don't know if I can go back to that. I don't know if I can go back to you. I understand, she said, her voice barely audible. I don't expect you to trust me again right away. But please give me a chance. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I'll prove it to you, Jake. I'll prove that I can be the person you need me to be. The sincerity in her voice hit me harder than I expected. I closed my eyes again, taking a deep breath. I need time, I said, the words coming out quietly but firmly. I need space to think. I can't just jump back in. I need to figure out what I want. I need to figure out if I can ever forgive you. I'll give you all the time you need, she said softly. But please don't give up on us. Don't give up on me. I'm not giving up on us, I replied, my voice shaking with emotion. But I need to find out who I am without you too. I need to figure out if I can trust you again. And I can't do that if I don't have some time to think. I hope you understand that. I understand, she whispered. Take all the time you need. I'll be here waiting for you. I hung up the phone without saying another word, feeling the weight of the silence settle around me. The storm inside me hadn't passed, but for the first time in days, I felt like there was a small glimmer of hope. Maybe there was a way forward. Maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other, but I couldn't rush it, not yet. I needed to heal. I needed to find myself again before I could ever think about being with her. But the journey wasn't over, not yet.